Earlier today, the simmering conservative unrest created by the bad debt ceiling bill boiled over as House Freedom Caucus members joined with Democrats in stopping a vote on the Save Our Gas Stoves bill the GOP was hoping to message on. Joining me now to discuss this and more is Congressman Matt Rosendale. He is a member of the House Freedom Caucus, the Veterans Affairs Committee, and the Committee on Natural Resources. He represents the 2nd Congressional District of Montana. Congressman, welcome back to the program. Always great to see you.
Thanks for having me on again, Tony. It's good to be with you.
All right, Congressman, explain what happened this afternoon on the House floor.
Well, again, like many of these things, Tony, it started a long time ago. You witnessed as the House of Representatives was able to work together very closely, very hardly to create the debt ceiling package that we passed about a month and a half ago, the Limit, Save, and Grow Act. And virtually everyone embraced that because it froze spending and it was able to claw back a bunch of the unspent funds that the Biden administration had so recklessly tried to put out. It called for a debt ceiling increase of $1.5 trillion or March 31st, whichever came first. But then it also had the component from H.R. 1 to make sure that we stimulated our economy, not through government money, but through unleashing the resource development that we can do right here in the United States through increasing our domestic energy production, permitting pipelines, permitting export facilities, permitting the mining for critical minerals that we need so bad. And everyone worked together really hard to make sure that we could get that passed. But we also worked hard back in January to make sure that we had rules in place to restore regular order to Congress. And so now we've got a culmination of many things that has taken place over the last 2 weeks. And first, what we saw was instead of passing a debt ceiling bill that everyone had worked on, we had a debt ceiling bill that was reverted back to the days of old negotiations behind closed doors where a half a dozen people made decisions that were going to impact everyone across the country. And that debt ceiling bill did not look anything like the one that we had passed in the House of Representatives originally. As a matter of fact, it didn't have any of those clawback provisions. It provides 98% of the funding for the IRS still. It stripped out the student loan redistribution program. It was a catastrophe. And not only did it raise the debt ceiling, Tony, but it raised the debt ceiling to a date in time, which just so happens to be after the presidential election next year, so that no one had to have this discussion again next year. And so we know that that amount is somewhere in the neighborhood of about $4 trillion.
But could be more.
Probably closer to $5 trillion.
Yeah, it could be more because there's no ceiling on it. There's no cap on it. Also, the bill advanced with a closed rule so that there could be no amendments on the House floor, which is something that was at the forefront of the discussion back in January, if I'm not mistaken.
It was. Again, when you look at the debate that took place during the speaker's race, a lot of that really was to make sure we could restore regular order to the House and to be able to have debate, to offer amendments on the floor, and all of that has now started to continue to strip away. So what we saw today was a rule, and most folks don't understand that there's a rule that is presented in order to dictate how the bill will be handled or managed on the floor thereafter. And when the rule came through and it contained several pieces of legislation, not just a single piece of legislation, it was basically a closed rule again. And unfortunately, both of these pieces of legislation were going to be nothing more than messaging bills, because by passing the debt ceiling bill last week, what happened is it stripped away any type of leverage that the Republicans in the House of Representatives had to really be sincere about passing other legislation. Our leverage is gone. And so these are messaging bills that were going to land over in the Senate to die a slow and quiet death. And so a rather large group of us got together and brought the rule down.
So let me ask you this. Was that message received by the House Republican leadership?
I would certainly think that it would be. I have not had any conversations with anyone else since that time. After we took our votes, most of us had other engagements that we had to take care of, other meetings that we had to take care of. And so we left the floor and went on to those meetings. And I imagine over the next few days, there will be some conversations about regular order.
I was watching. I mean, it appeared that this took the leadership by surprise.
Sure.
So is this the way forward? I mean, I'm hearing, I haven't talked to you about this other than just now, but is this something that conservatives are prepared to do going forward until the House leadership returns to its previous agreement?
I think that this is a discussion that we're going to have. What we saw last week was a coalition, a newly formed coalition of 165 Democrats and 149 Republicans that passed a debt ceiling deal that is harmful to the people across this nation. It is certainly harmful to the people across the state of Montana. And so what we did today was say we fought very hard to restore regular order back in January, and we still have the ability to make sure that we bring it back to the House.
So what's next in this?
We shall see. Again, I haven't had any conversations with anyone. Tony, I was sent here to provide good government. That was it. And so everything that I do is not about messaging. It's not about publicity. It's about good policy. And so everything that I focus on a daily basis is to make sure that I support good policy, good government for the people across the state of Montana, and which translates into benefits for the whole country.
Now, I understand there have been some meetings between the House Speaker and some Freedom Caucus members in the last 24 hours. Have those produced? I mean, I would guess based upon today's vote that did not produce positive results.
I have not spoke with anyone who has had a conversation with Leader McCarthy,
all right.
Speaker McCarthy.
Well, we are going to continue to monitor this very, very closely. Congressman Matt Rosendale, always great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on, Tony. You have a great evening. God bless you.